Hi, my name is Shawn Savela. I'm running for Minnesota House District 8B. I'd like to take a little time here today to talk about your opportunities as a voter in this city and this state. You have an opportunity to take a look holistically at all the candidates right now and decide which ones are going to be serving you best, who's going to be the best stewards for your money, who's going to be looking out for your self-interest. Now, typically in an election, you have an incumbent and a challenger. For the incumbent, it's easy. You can take a look at what they've introduced as legislation, what they've been voting on, and what their track record is. You can get an idea of what they're going to be doing going forward. For a challenger, you have to look at their website. You have to look at their speeches they're making, videos like this. So I am the challenger in this, and I will be talking about my main goals for this election. Now, my main points are budget and spending, which includes fraud, regulations, energy, and finally, a sanctuary state for Minnesota. So let's go into each one of those. So first of all, let's talk about budget and spending. Now, in the last session, they spent a $17.5 billion surplus with no money going back to the people. They increased our taxes again, another $10 billion, growing the government by 40%. I think this is an unsustainable amount of government spending. So we need to put a curtail on that. There's also a massive amount of fraud in Minnesota last year. We can account for about $500 million in fraud, but not very much accountability. We need to put an end to that too. And I also want to talk about property taxes. My ultimate goal, if I could get my way, is to eliminate property taxes completely. I think if you have to pay the government every month or every year to live on your property, you don't really own your property. You're just renting it from the government. But that's a long and winding road to get rid of it. So I'd like to take some first steps. I'd like to put a cap on the property tax increase to about 2 to 3% a year, and then find a maximum age where your property taxes max out and you do not have to have any increases to your property taxes for the rest of your life. That way you can plan for your retirement. Now let's talk about regulations. Now I know personally 2 people that have businesses in Minnesota that are planning an exit strategy from Minnesota because of the long and hard list of regulations they're facing. We have regulations on mining, preventing mining companies from even being able to apply for a permit to show that they can mine safely and environmentally friendly. And they tried to put regulations in place, for example, on painters. You had to have a license to be a painter to paint inside or outside your house. These are unsustainable for Minnesota. They're driving out businesses, and we need to get a handle on those. And I'd like to also talk about energy diversity. We are funneling everything into one type of energy, which is electricity. And that puts us all dependent on the electrical grid, which could fail at any time. And if that fails, and that's the only source of our energy, we're going to be in a bad state here in Minnesota, especially if it happens in the winter. What we need is an abundant source of energy from multiple redundant sources. So I'm talking about gasoline, solar, wind, hydro, nuclear, coal, clean burning coal, let's say. All of those are on the table. What that does is it gives us cheaper energy, and that gives us cheaper costs of goods to get to market, which lowers the prices, which gives you and me more money in our bank. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is the sanctuary state bill that they tried to pass. This was called the North Star Act. And what it did was it gave, basically Minnesota became a sanctuary state where law enforcement officials couldn't ask about immigration status, and they couldn't work with the federal government to deport illegal immigrants into this country. Now, it's important to differentiate between legal and illegal immigration. Legal immigration is a hard process. I work with and I'm friends with many people who've come to this country legally. Illegal immigration is going to be a downfall of our state. We can't afford it, and every resource we spend on an illegal immigrant, it takes away from taxpayers, veterans, and people of low income. Now, I grew up here. I went to school here. I got married here. I have a business here. I'm invested in this area. I live right here with you. So when you're talking about voting for people, state and local government are your best resources to having an impact in what happens. So please, I urge you to take a look at all the candidates and make the best decision for you and who's going to be working best for the state. Now I want to thank you for listening. Remind you that the primary is August 13th, and go to shawnsavela.com if you have any information or you need any information to find out where to vote. Thank you.